Aloha Pumehana Kako. Welcome to the Hawaii International Film Festival as presented by Huli wishing HIFF a happy 40th birthday. And our discussion with Gary Pak, director of Huli, Kokua Hawaii, and the beginning of the revolutionary movement in contemporary Hawaii. We'd like to extend our thanks to the Nichols Family Fund and Film Fund for sponsoring this program and our Made in Hawaii section at the festival this year. My name is Kiara Lacey. I'm zooming in from beautiful Kaimuki, Hawaii on a very overcast day, the land of the Kanaka Maoli people. And a couple of quick things before we get moving into our conversation. Program updates. For any up-to-date information on additions to the Film Festival's program and the full schedule of films, events, and talk story sessions and Q&As, visit HIFF.org. And don't forget to participate in the Hawaii News Now Audience Award voting. So please head to hawaiinewsnow.com/HIFF, HIFF, to cast your vote for your favorite narrative, documentary, and short film. And of course, mahalo to Hawaii News Now for their support. And without further ado, Gary, let's talk about your movie.
Okay. Well, thank you, HIFF, and thank you, Kiara. Thank you for all the HIFF people for accepting the movie, the documentary. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And not only me, I think that there's a lot of people who really feel the same as I do. I just feel like I'm a conduit, of sorts. Yeah.
Absolutely. And, we thank you for your work, and just diving into a conversation about it. What drew you to telling this story? Like, what got you started in this in the first place?
Well, if I can be chronological, of course, as I told you before, I was an activist too. I was in a movement and stuff. I wasn't in the Kalama Valley. I was actually in college at the time, but I heard about that, when I was in the States. I was on the East Coast, doing my undergraduate studies, and the 60s and the 70s really influenced a lot of people and influenced me a lot too. And so when I got back from college, I got involved. I got involved in a lot of stuff, and a lot of these people, in fact, almost all of them that I interviewed for this project were dear friends of mine, or just people I worked with in the movement. Well, long story short, in February 2017, a friend of ours, Sylvia Thompson, actually, Pete Thompson is one of the activists, and he recently passed away. But anyway, there was a small party, and a lot of people, came. Not a lot, but a group of people. And Larry Kamakabibole, who was one of the leaders of the Kalama Valley, was there too. And he just approached me and said, "Hey, we need to tell this story about the Kalama Valley, about Kokua, Hawaii. Are you willing to be part of a ad hoc committee to get together and try to tell this story?" And so he brought together. I said, "Sure, of course." And from there, from February 2017, one of the things that he says, we got to interview these people. And there was no sense of having a documentary at that time. We just, it was just a matter of getting this oral histories down of all these activists. And a lot of them passed away before the thing. And even while we were doing the interview process for the next following year or so, people passed away, and people also died before we could actually, we were going to the Big Island and trying to interview Moani, Kiala, and when we arrived there, she got into the hospice, and oh boy, it was so many of these kind of stories. It was compelling for us to get these stories down, and what I did was I actually interviewed 12 activists. And I put it on YouTube, so you can find on YouTube 1-hour programs. And the second phase, when we talked to Larry, he was saying that we got to get a documentary out, to document what actually happened. Because one of the things that Larry was talking about too first of all, it was so important to have the story out there for the future, for not only now, but for the future generations to understand what happened. And because the Klamath Valley struggle was really the spark, the beginning of the movement in Hawaii. I mean, the militant movement, you talk about the working class, the movement here, the Hawaiian sovereignty movement. It was really the start off, people say that, people write about that stuff. So that was really an important thing, to write these stories, to get the stories down. And Gary Kubota, who was a Star Bulletin reporter, he was actually arrested in Klamath Valley, and he wrote a book about the interviews. And so my part, I was assigned to do the video because I had done some oral history videos before. And so Larry said, "Hey, can you do it?" And I said, "Sure, I'll do it, man." It was a commitment of love, and really important sense there. Even though there's a lot of things I just don't know about, about filmmaking. I had to have a rush course and stuff. And of course, I taught film and stuff, so that helped me somewhat, But also the really purpose too is because Larry was talking, and we were all talking together. And Gwen Kim was there too. Gwen Kim was another activist in here. Gary Kubota, my wife Merle, she was part of it. And Claire Shimabukuro, who was also part of the Klamath Valley, she was a longtime activist. All these people are basically longtime activists, and some of them continuing to do things. We also said that the narrative of what happened at Klamath Valley, with Kokua, Hawaii, and this beginning of the movement has been changed. For example, I got to say this: I taught at a university. With some of the university kind of situation, they've changed the narrative, changed the story of this in some ways. They didn't corrupt anything, right? But the narrative has changed to, and it wasn't. So some of the things were kind of left out. Some of the details, some of the point of views and stuff. You can say something?
Oh no, hearing what you're saying about the shift in the narrative around the work that had been done in Kalama, did that influence you and the team's, need to put out the documentary, and what content and what viewpoints you put into it as well, to kind of provide clarity about what the movement was about?
Yes, and also what Klamath Valley and Kokua, Hawaii represented at that time, and what it did. So we thought the best thing to do, of course, at that time, at that meeting in February 2017 at Sylvia Thompson's apartment condo, we said we should interview as many of the activists that was involved, that was there, who actually got arrested and did what. Some of them didn't get arrested because, like Larry and Soli Niheu, they were actually, when the powers that be found out that they were out of the valley doing other things, they made sure that they didn't come in because they were so, they were the leaders, right? And so it was really, you understand what I'm saying. So we had to interview these activists who are around right now, and to get all the stories. And some of the stories, of course, in oral history, they don't quite gel sometimes, right? Someone's saying, "Oh, well, this happened this day," and the other one says, "No, it happened this way." But still, there was that common story that we had to piece together, we had to put together, and that's what this documentary is about: is putting these stories together and presenting it. Okay, this is what happened. This is literally what happened. It was a multinational struggle. It was I learned a lot of times it was the birth of the Hawaiian sovereignty movement. It was also the birth of a lot of the working class kind of movements, the New Left movement that came in the islands and stuff, that was influenced by a lot, what was going on. A lot of the members actually, knew some, for example, Larry in the movie, his good friend was Bobby Seale of the Black Panthers, when he was at Berkeley in Oakland. He was working at a church in Oakland, and Bobby Seale used to come in, and they interacted and stuff like that. And Kalani and Moane, they went and met with the Black Panthers, the Young Lords, Iwar Kewen, all these things. So it was a lot of these activists that came in, they got a larger world perspective of what was going on. The Vietnam War was going on. That had a huge influence, of course, of people. So
How do you feel like knowing that the world that we're in today and the world that that Huli takes place in? How do you feel like the work that that Kokua Hawaii did and that moment has influenced what we're seeing now in the community, and some of the thoughts that you think your subjects or that movement might have on what we're seeing today?
I think it's a huge influence, really huge, because this is the first time that, mainly a lot of local people and just people in the community reacted and took a stand against the, big landlords, Bishop State, against the state, against the, and saying enough is enough, and the community people were, these so-called activists, these so-called outside agitators joined in with the community people, the residents and the workers and, the pig farmers and whoever, of all nationalities. And it was a huge movement. And you got to remember too that, there was some conservatism. I mean, the Vietnam War is going, so there was like a lot of, activism going on in the university and stuff. But among the local people here, people are just, oh, okay, well, and you had all these people come out and they just said, hey, enough is enough, This, of course, influenced, other struggles as a documentary is talking about, Ota Camp, what happened in Kona, Waihuli Wakani, Kaho'olawe, you name it, in Kauai, all these struggles, and a lot of these, of course, these activists from Kaho'olawe, they went out into the various communities. There was a newspaper that was founded, called, Huli. Huli was a newspaper. The print shop, which the building is still there in Palama Street in Kalihi side, in Palama area, it's now has a mom and pop store or something like that on it. But, these kind of things were such an important movement, and it set the stage for the increase of political activism among, a lot, in Hawaii. And later on in the documentary, of course, Larry talks about how the children of the Kona Valley are taken off. I had a wonderful interview with Soli Niheu and Gwen Kim's daughter, Kalama Niheu. She's a medical doctor. She was a medical doctor, chief medical doctor at Standing Rock in the Dakotas, and also, of course, at Mauna Wakea, the Mauna Kea at the TMT thing, and I had a wonderful interview. I went up there last December, and we just sat down, we talked stories, and then, of course, we interviewed. So these children, of course, are continued what Kalama is suggesting is a normal kind of sense of bearing of what to do, but injustice happens, we got to stand up against that, and serve justice, to serve justice, man. We can't sit back and let everything just crush us. No, we got to fight back.
I love it. I love that ethos, and just thinking on that, and sort of maybe quickly shifting gears to think about you as and the team as filmmakers. Your background as a writer, as an educator, a storyteller, and a cultural worker overall. I'm interested how that influenced your process in making this film. Is this your first film? And how you sort of like took your multi-hyphenate background and put it into the making of Huli.
I made some few small short films like that. I think there was number of things and a lot of work. But I got to say is that my political background, my political practice, the things that influenced my practice as an activist, as joining up with the new left movement and support of all these kind of things, that to me was the most important thing that shaped whatever things I did. And as I told you earlier, I don't consider myself a filmmaker or a fiction writer or this and that kind of thing. Yeah, I am. Okay. I consider myself a cultural worker because I feel like in a lot of I hope people see it in my writing that I try to give representation to people whose voices I can't be heard and stuff, who can't, whose voices have been, silenced, have been oppressed, have been, shoved away. That's my bearing, and so I think my being a culture worker, the most important thing is has been the political things that my understanding of the way the world is and stuff, and I got to say that this has been not only my bearing, but it's been a collectivity of sorts. Like I say, a lot of some of the people that I've interviewed and have passed away, like Kalani, Larry, they passed away just a matter of 1-2 years ago, and even some of the ones I couldn't interview because they had passed away. They. There's a term for when you grow up in a village, of the villages, and I feel the same way too. I feel like all these people, the masses of people, the activists, the advanced thinkers of society and stuff like that, they help to what I see and stuff like that. And I feel very proud and humbled to be part of that kind of vision or visions in this world and stuff, and hopefully. Through culture, this can make make something happen, or at least try to make things better, make the world a better world.
For your film and the life of your film, where would you like to see the film find touch points after HIF? Like after our HIF community has the opportunity to watch it. Where are the other places you'd like to see the film go to? Oh,
out to the community. We're already planning for next year, because next year is going to be the 50th anniversary of the Kalama Valley struggle. May 11th, 2021. It's going to be the 50th anniversary, and my wife and others and some of our other friends and stuff like that, we really want to take it out into the community. That's where I think it belongs, and. I prematurely, when I found out that HIF was going to, I was so happy. And I put my Facebook, and I told one of the HIF officials, I said, no, please don't do that. We haven't announced it yet, so I had to take it down. But now that it's officially announced, I put it back up, my Facebook, and of course the response has been tremendous. I mean, people, there's been so many shares like that too.
No, it's cute. No, I agree. I think having your film, start its journey at HIF is such an incredible way to validate the work and also launch it in the community. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that.
We also want to do showings, maybe regular screenings. Hopefully this C-19 thing is going to get settled more and stuff. We like to open it up, going to the communities, going to the schools, places, and also be more virtual, to do more virtual stuff like that too, awesome. Of course,
Awesome. 50 years, incredible. Absolutely incredible time.
It tells you how old I am too.
Well, it tells us how awesome you are. So thank you for that. And to think, to be able to think longitudinally, like, the work you did 50 years ago is still having impact is amazing. And I have one last question outside of anything else you wanted to add to the conversation, but I was curious, to anyone who is moved by the film and the work that they see, is there a reading list or a list of films that you would encourage people, or a list of books that people who are moved by the work at Kalama could go out and read in response to, to Huli?
Oh, there's all kinds of books.
Maybe like the top 3 or like 5 that pop into your head, because I know you probably got a huge library of ideas. That was so much part of the thread of the film. There was a lot of like connection to intellectual thought and a lot of like commentary on how educated and well read the subjects of your film and these like, cultural workers, activists, what informed their process. And so I'd be curious, like, what are the books that anyone who's moved should go in and dive and read?
I don't have the top 5. I can just
go for it. Throw them out. Throw a couple out.
Okay, look, and I'll be honest. Read the Communist Manifesto. That's a really important book. The Civil War. Read the Paris Commune. Read a lot of Latin American writers. My favorite is Gabriel Garcia Marquez. 100 Years of Solitude. Arnold Bontemps, African American.
That's a favorite of mine as well.
Which one?
Marquez. Yeah.
Yeah. Arnold Bontemps wrote called Black Thunder. It's about the slave revolt in the 1820s, 1830s. Great book. Other books. Oh, I just read an amazing book by James Douglas. It's called JFK and the Unspeakable. And it's about how the CIA, basically assassinated JFK. And it's so well documented and stuff. There's so many books out there. John Reed's books. I mean, I just John Reed was a journalist in the turn of the century. That's one that Warren Beatty wrote, that did the movie Reds on and stuff. He wrote the book, what was it? The 10 Days That Shook the World and the Mexican Revolution and stuff like that. Even the books like about Hawaii, like one of the key books among a lot of the early activists was Lawrence Fuchsia's book, Hawaii Pono. That's a great book to read because it really began us thinking about what was going on and stuff like that. There was a journal that was put out by Pete Thompson and Kohayashi. It's called Hawaii Pono Journal. It's defunct now. It's not working, but there's copies that you can find here and there. You can find it in the library and such like that. Oh, there's so many books. I mean, I can go on. I can go for half an hour, an hour.
No, I love it, and I love hearing the publications that really influenced the movement at that time and what their thought process was. So that's super. That's helpful reading for any of those out there who want to put themselves into the mindset of what supported the movement.
Oh yeah, and like I said, there's so many of them, and Black Like Me. I remember reading that. That was one of them when I was a kid, and that really influenced me. Also, Dick Gregory. Dick Gregory is a comedian. He wrote the book. I don't want to say the word, but it's that N-word kind of thing. And also, there's so many. Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison. That to me is one of the best books by American writer in the 20th century. I taught that book, of course, and stuff. There's an Indonesian writer, I think I'm messing up the name, Primeda Anantatur, and he wrote this 4-quartet bureau now. It's about the Indonesian development of the Indonesian Revolution, and he wrote all those books when he was in prison on toilet paper and passes out. There's so much. You got to stop me because I'm gonna.
Well, I just want to say thank you to you and the team and to all of those who were part of the movement and give us this opportunity to learn from your film and their work, and recognizing that we're on the precipice of a 50-year anniversary, looking at how far we've come and how far we have to go. So thank you to all of you. And is there anything else you'd like to share before we close up our chat?
No, but I just want to thank HIFF, and I hope that, like I say, this film was from the idea from Larry Kamakavivoli got us together, and he's still inspiring us to continue on with the struggle, to continue on fighting for justice, and making this a better world. And we can do it.
Thank you for that moment of inspiration. I agree. Here's to better for everybody. And thank you to you for your film. And thank you to everyone out there for watching today's conversation. Mahalo to all of HIFF sponsors, board of directors, and our HIFF Ohana members. And for anyone out there, if you are able to donate to HIFF40 for our fundraising campaign, please do. Every dollar counts towards keeping HIFF presenting great content like Gary's film Huli, and hopefully more content for the future. So learn more at HIFF.org/40-FOR-40 for 40. And mahalo ya oko. Hope everybody stays safe.
Thank you all.
Thank you.